Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. If you are new or a regular viewer here who has not yet subscribed, please do go ahead and subscribe to my channel. You're not only helping me, but you're helping so many other people like yourself find this free and completely valuable content. If you also don't yet connect with me on Instagram, link is below. Make sure you do connect with me on Instagram. That's where I show up for all of you daily to share tips and additional guidance. Having said that, today I'm going to share with you a cycle that I have witnessed over the course of my 20 years in the field that is so common among individuals struggling with gender dysphoria or questioning their gender identity, and it break it down into two very important components to explain to you how this particular cycle keeps you stuck where you at and making it very challenging for you to break through that cycle, and how these two components tend to work in opposition to each other, which further keeps you stuck. So this is a great video for any of you who are wondering or questioning your gender identity, know you're struggling with gender dysphoria, want to do something about it, feel stuck, or maybe feel like you're getting stuck in your gender transition. All of this is going to apply to you because this cycle tends to show up across the board for individuals at different even stages of their gender transition, if that's something you decided to go through. And understanding the cycle, understanding how these two components keep you stuck, I think is invaluable, because once you know, you can then start working on those things. In the very least, you can start recognizing in your life when those things are taking place. In the very least, you can start actually dealing or doing something with those two components. So this cycle is something that I see again and again and again, that especially has propensity to keep so many of you living with gender dysphoria long term. So if you know you've been living with gender dysphoria for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and you feel tremendous amount of regret, if you feel that you should have done something sooner, trust me, the cycle is not easy to break through. And chances are this particular cycle is what have been keeping you stuck. It's a cycle that even can be applied to so many other areas of our life. And the cycle goes along these lines. You start to become aware that you have gender dysphoria. You're starting to become aware that you're questioning your gender. You're starting to become aware that one way or another, you're not feeling congruency with your assigned gender. And once that awareness begins, you start, most likely, at least in today's era, you go to internet to start collecting information about what it might be. So you go down the rabbit hole of learning and understanding that this might be gender dysphoria and different symptoms and how it might manifest. And then before you know it, you are inundated with all of this information. If you grew up during an era before the internet, you may have just spent a lot of time wondering what is happening. The first component of the cycle is mind. The first component is how your mind starts to get on this path of questioning, gathering information, wondering, asking questions. Especially in today's era, this is a component that starts to understand that there are actually viable solutions out there. Maybe you're starting to watch a lot of transition stories before and after, and you see that it is fully possible. And as a result, you're starting to grapple with this reality. Can I actually do this? So the first component is the mind. It's the mind that thinks about gender dysphoria. I have gender dysphoria. What am I going to do? Because all of the thinking and this possibility of solution also comes all of the anxiety and rumination and worry and fears. All of those things also kick in. All of the things that keep you up at night. I can't possibly do this. What if I come out to my family? I'm going to have to change my life around. Transition is expensive. What am I going to tell my kids? What if I'll never pass? What if I'll be unattractive? What if I will never be accepted by society? All of the things start to creep in, which kicks the cycle from mind now into the heart, the feelings. and you start having emotions and feelings that are tapping into whatever is mind now being anxious and fearful about, you're starting to feel all of these emotions associated with what mind is doing. And the emotions are fear of abandonment, fear of not being loved, fear of being all alone, fear of being dehumanized, fear of being not taken seriously, fear of not being able to handle it, fear of this not being able to work out for you, fears that it's too late for you, fears that your partner is going to leave you, fears that your kids are not going to accept you. So now you're tapping into the emotions. The way the cycle, these two components, mind and heart, tend to work in unity to keep you perpetually stuck is this. And I want you to pay attention because this is most likely majority of you experiencing the cycle, whether you're aware of it or not, because I've seen it again and again and again. The minute you think, oh, I can actually do something about it. Maybe you watch one of my videos and you think, wow, Dr. Z talks about this. People are able to have a happier, joyful life after they step into their authentic gender transition or not. Absolutely true. They are. Or maybe you watched an account on media of somebody who transitioned and they're sharing with you how much happier they are. In other words, your mind sees the possibility of solution out there. Because it sees possibility of solution, your mind says, hey, we can solve this problem. And we can solve this problem by taking the steps to actually do something about this problem. So you're now feeling hopeful. And the minute you get into that area of taking that first step, your heart kicks in and your heart says, oh, wait a second, this is way scary, this is way overwhelming, this is too much. So your heart, your feelings take over your mind. So you're staying in this fearful feeling place and you're feeling all of these feelings of fear, of frustration, of overwhelm, all of these emotions come up. And you are in this feeling place. And then what happens is that your mind again takes over and your mind says, calm down, you're overdoing it, it might not happen, you're catastrophizing. So mind takes over, and then mind again ruminates around solution or ruminates around possibilities. And again, as it's about to do, the feeling kicks in. So both of those tend to dance around each other, or the other way around. When in the feeling zone, you're starting to feel ready, you're starting to feel the courage, you're starting to feel momentum that you can do it, that you are going to take that step. Well, the minute you feel like I got it, I can do it, then your mind might kick in this case, and I'll say, what the heck are you thinking? Um, they're just feelings. These are not facts. You don't know how things are going to pan out. So, in other words, the two tend to be in opposition to each other. If your feelings are, let's go, we're ready, then your mind tends to kick in and say, heck no, we're not. We're not doing this. If your mind says, we're ready, this is happening, here's the steps we're going to take, then your feelings kick in and say, oh, no, we're not. So the goal is how can you put your mind and your feelings in a um, in a partnership together? How can you make them not be so much in opposition, but be as partners moving forward? And one way of doing it is to be able to recognize things that the feelings are afraid about and then give it justifications. And another thing is, if it's the mind that is freaking out, to also appease it with feelings. So it takes a little bit of work, and it's a little bit of a fine dance actually to be able to get them to somehow align together. And sometimes they're not perfectly aligned together, but that's what actually for a lot of people who do take steps forward happens. They kind of feel without them even being aware, they're getting that momentum of alignment. But this cycle is what keeps so many people stuck. This is a cycle that has kept so many people stuck for a very, very long time living with gender dysphoria. Is that the mind wants solution. The mind really wants to solve this problem. It may even have a solution, but then the feelings kick in because they're fear-based and they're so overwhelming, or the feelings are ready. You're ready to do something. You're so tired. You're sick. You're so exhausted living with gender dysphoria you're ready to take those steps, but now the mind is the one that kicks in and says, oh, we're not doing it. No, this is not the right time. Here's how it's not going to work out. The both tend to just kind of kick each other off the path, unfortunately. And so the goal is for you to find a way to align them together. But this is the cycle that's viciously happening. For a lot of people who are in transition, the cycle can still be present. And if you're watching this and you are in gender, going through gender transition, you may have already experienced the cycle, whereas there are certain things that might come up where one gets to really go off the charts, or maybe it's your mind that starts going off the charts. And that's the moment when a lot of people want to stop. That's the point when people get off hormones, they get overwhelmed, they get scared, it's too much to bear. That's when yo-yoing transition that I talk about happens. That's when people put a pause on it, or that's when people just start isolating because they're so overwhelmed. All of those are the signs that in your system, on your path, as you're going forward, one or the other is not being balanced. It's not being in alignment. They're not working together. They're in opposition to each other. So it's always really, really important to bring them to some level of, I want you to think about mind and your feelings, mind and your heart. In other words, I want you to think about this too as they're two partners, right? They're two partners and they have to be somewhat on the same page. And they may not always be on exactly the same page, and maybe somebody's going to have to compromise, but they have to be somewhat on the same page to make things work. And when they're in such opposition to each other, there's going to be a tremendous amount of resistance. There's going to be a lot of defenses that are going to go up. All of those things are going to fit into the vicious cycle, and they end up creating a self-fulfilling prophecy where you feel like, see, I knew that. Whereas the mind now is getting more experience, where it starts telling the heart, see, I knew that's going to happen, or where maybe the heart is telling the mind, see, I knew that's what happened in the past. That's why it didn't work out. We're not going to do it. It becomes that much terrified to take first steps because the trust is not there. So keep that in mind. This is a vicious cycle that is so, so, so common. It's not just obviously present in individuals struggling with gender dysphoria. It's a common cycle for people struggling with big life transitions, right? Somebody who wants to live marriage or relationship, somebody that wants to live a job, so many other elements in our lives. This cycle is present constantly. And so the key is, how can you get this to people, less to be in opposition and more to be in some form of agreeable, mutual alliance together as a move forward. So comment below, let me know where you at in this vicious cycle. Have you experienced it before? Is your mind and your heart aligned right now? And if they're not, what is happening? Do you feel like you're being torn apart? Because for a lot of people, they are. Comment below, let me know, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.